Good afternoon and welcome to a Wednesday edition of the PHLY Eagles Show. I'm Zach Berman. That's Fran Duffy. Fran, I would say, how are you? But you've been grinding film on Alabama offensive line all morning. So is this a welcome reprieve from that, or is this or do you wish you were back on Caden Proctor film?
I mean, do you want the real answer to that, or do you want me to tell you?
The real answer. I can handle it.
Yeah, here, I will say the left tackle, Caden Proctor, he is like a Jeff Stoutland. By the way, I think I mentioned this on Monday, but excellent episode last week highlighting Jeff Stoutland. Loved that episode. But this would be like Jeff Stoutland's like favorite player, like get this guy into the building. My guess is the Eagles won't have a shot at that guy, but 6'7", 360 pounds, just pure power. I just posted a video of him up on social media. A lot of fun to watch.
So, all right, that's a fun way to spend a Wednesday morning.
Yep.
And I say Wednesday because we're midweek. And Bo Wolf's not here. I should also say we're brought to you by TrueMark Financial Credit Union. We appreciate the support from TrueMark Financial Credit Union. We wish Bo were here with us, but because he's not, we're able to do something that Bo would not approve of. And that is a midweek mailbag. Okay. I love it because this is taking suggestions at the pizza shop, right? This is what's on your mind. This isn't us figuring out the conceit of the show. This is us saying, what do you want us to discuss? And so we'll get right into it here because there's a topic that was discussed this morning on the Anthony Gargano show with Jamie and VG. And it's a topic that's been discussed elsewhere in Philadelphia. And that is the potential that TJ Watt could be available. So the first question that we have here is from here you go. It's from Mick Brew. Would you trade a late round pick and Nolan Smith for TJ Watt?
We talked about this on Monday when we were talking about the Steelers trade for Jalen Ramsey, and Schefter had brought up that teams are thinking that TJ Watt could be available. I will say before we get into like this, the exact trade, it doesn't make any sense why the Steelers would try and make this kind of deal. Like you're pushing your chips in with Aaron Rodgers and with DK Metcalf. Like you're not going to trade probably your best defensive player, right? That said, the other side of it, you would know better than me, but I don't think that the Eagles are in position to make a trade like that anyway because he wants a new deal, and the Eagles aren't in the business right now of giving out big money contracts because that you've got to pay some of these other guys coming down the pike. So that being said, if we're going to get into like the Madden fantasy football end of it, would I do it? Maybe. I mean, I think that at the end of it, if it's Nolan Smith and a late round pick. All right, so that means that it's essentially like the late round pick is negligible. That's probably a throwaway selection if it's later than a fourth rounder.
That gets you from 32 to 31, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't think that we're not splitting hairs there, or we're not going crazy. So for me, it's Nolan Smith in year 3 versus TJ Watt. I think you would say, all right, capitalize on the window and take TJ Watt, knowing that you still have at least a couple more years of a high level of play from him.
Yeah, I look at it. First off, there's clearly smoke to this TJ Watt trade rumors. And it doesn't make sense either. You don't acquire Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, DK Metcalf, and then trade your best player, right? That would not add up. But they haven't met, I imagine, what he wants to get paid. And I don't know if the Eagles would meet what he wants to get paid, right? And I understand the Eagles are star hunters, and we talked about Myles Garrett this offseason. I think they have a lot of money reserved for Jalen Carter. And I think that bringing TJ Watt in, it would have to be like a really long-term deal with Jalen Carter that pushes money down the pike. And but to answer the question, I would not deal Nolan Smith right now. I view Nolan Smith as one of the frontline players for the Eagles. He's their top edge rusher. That's an important position. He's entering year 3. We discussed it the other day. I mean, he really emerged late last season and into the playoffs. I mean, if you're talking about J.Alex Hunt and a pick, and J.Alex Hunt's a high upside player, then that's a conversation I would have more. I am not looking to trade Nolan Smith right now. I think if you were to write down the best 20 players on the Eagles, Nolan Smith's on that list. If you were to write the best 15 players on the Eagles, I think Nolan Smith would push to be on that list as well.
Yeah, and I think too the other aspect of Nolan Smith is what he is, what they're planning on him being in terms of off the field, like in the locker room, that tempo setter, the guy that's going to really kind of set the tone for that defense. And we saw that on the field last year down the stretch, especially in the playoffs with what he did in the Super Bowl, what he did against Green Bay. They're taking those guys, those offensive linemen out of the game the way that he did. I mean, that's the mentality that he brings, and it's the culture that they're trying to continue to set on that side of the ball.
So we can jump over the next one, which was from Phil Yannon in media, which says, "Is it nuts to consider Nolan Smith for TJ Watt?" And let's get to the third one here, which is from GoBird62. What do you project to be the Eagles' biggest offseason mistake, and how do you think it can be rectified?
I love that. This is a great mailbag question.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake this offseason, I mean, I guess that here's one. Could it be extending Saquon Barkley the way that they did?
Ooh, go on.
I mean, look, we talked last week, or we talked last episode on Monday, the one that you and I did together on Monday, about over-unders, and we talked about the potential downside for Saquon Barkley here in 2025, coming off of the workload that he had. It's fine. I was listening to our friend Josh Norris and Hayden Winks over with the Underdog Football Show, and they were talking about Saquon Barkley, and they were talking about just the history of players coming off of that high volume of touches, and typically the barometer there is 200 touches. Saquon Barkley had over 400 touches last year. So we are like way past that threshold that we typically look at. That is not to say that Saquon Barkley is definitely going to take a huge step back. That is not to say that he is definitely going to get hurt the first time he steps on the field. But you have to keep that in mind. And we know, when you get into that age at running back, it can be a little bit scary. And so that could be the one move where you look at it and say, man, was that a necessary move? It might have been from an off-field dynamics thing, from a locker room dynamics standpoint, to reward a guy that basically carried you to the Super Bowl. But that could be one that you look back on.
Yeah, and I don't know how you can rectify that one either, right? Because the money's already in the bank.
You have to eat it. Yep.
So I would go with trading CJ Gardner-Johnson. And I know this was a polarizing move this offseason. And I identify that because A, I don't think they have an adequate solution in place. And B, for whatever issues there might be with CJ Gardner-Johnson, whether it's personality related, whether it's contract related, to me, he's a difference-making player on the back end who he takes the ball away. Like we've seen that 2 of the past 3 years. We've seen what the defense looked like without him. And I also think that I've talked about the competitive zeal that he brings. Now, the Eagles have other players who can provide that competitive zeal, to use the term that I probably overuse. But the Eagles let go of a good player. And I don't know if Drew Makuba, I should say, and Sidney Brown gives you what you need at safety going into the season. Maybe they develop that way, but Reed Blankenship's a solid player for you. I just feel that you got worse at that spot, and I don't feel totally strong about what they've done at safety.
Yeah, that was certainly one that I considered, and I think when you look at that was because what are the big departures? It's you realistically were not going to be able to bring Milton Williams back. It was unlikely that the Josh Sweat era was going to continue. So when you're looking at the other departures, the CJ Gardner-Johnson one is the one that stands out in that way.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one on the list here, which is this is a multi-part question for Fran from Gary Walensky. Fran, given the detail in your player analysis rankings leading up to the draft, do NFL teams ever contact you to get your views on a particular player? And then Fran, well, this is up to you. Will you share with us why you left the Birds, life balance, etc. So the second, I probably should check with you before including that second part. But the first one here, I am curious about. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first one, yeah, I talk with people all around the league. The
Flex.
coaches. Yeah, it's just so because you've been around it
You're
for
a football
as long
guy.
as we
Football
have.
guys,
Yeah,
football guy.
you're the same way. You talk with people all around the NFL.
I don't have
You've been
coaches
doing,
returning my calls the way they do yours, but
well,
yeah.
you've been in the business long enough when you go to enough of these events, you meet people, and I talk with people around the league. Now, do they call me on like an official capacity and say is Ryan Poles or like insert GM here calling me and saying like, hey, like Fran, like we're almost done setting our board. How do you have the tackle 2 and tackle 3 stacked? Like that, it's not necessarily that. There are people rather that I speak with throughout the year where it's like, hey, like we're texting regularly. There are some where, hey, maybe we talk 2 or 3 times a year. Maybe it's one conversation in the middle of March or in early April, and we talk for 90 minutes, 2 hours. So it's a little bit different. But I've been trying to keep in touch with people all around the NFL just to share my thoughts and get their thoughts as well.
Yeah, I can say that. Look, I've been an admirer of Fran's work for a long time, but I've only started working with Fran during the past year and a half. And the thing or the past year, I should say, and the thing that's amazed me about Fran, in addition to his like astute analysis, is how well plugged in, well sourced he is around the league, right? And so I can tell the audience, if I can flex for Fran here, you're getting top in class draft analysis, and it's not just his opinion; it's also like he's bouncing it off people. So are we bypassing the second part of the question?
No, we can look at the end of the day. Like, obviously, I mean, I was there for what was it? It was almost 14 years. It was a place that was great. I met great people, lifelong friends. Obviously, built my career there. Took where I was leaving Temple, and I was nowhere close to where I am now. So obviously, it was very very productive from that standpoint. But it was there. A lot of things change, right? It was a great opportunity to be able to join with you and with Bo, and be able to work with you guys every single day, and be able to flex different muscles from around the league coverage, and really kind of take on the NFL draft from this angle. So from that opportunity, just could not pass that up.
Well, I appreciate that, but you work with more than just Bo and me. You're the all-city draft expert, so you're in all the markets. It says here from Stunk Zach Berman, GM should just become diehards for all that hot draft evaluation intel. I agree, frankly. I think GM should be reading our material, mostly because of your work. And if they don't, they can subscribe today for a promotion that we have now. So make sure you check that out. It's through this weekend. Let's get to the next one on the list here. If there was a big move that has yet to happen, what would it be, and what position would it be to fill? This is from GoBirds 94.
I think it would be, I guess it would be, what does big move entail? I don't think, as I mentioned, I don't think that they're in position to make a TJ Watt level of acquisition. That said, to me, if they were to add, I think it would be that position, right? I think if you're looking at it, it's like, all right, you still have question marks with Ojulari and with Josh Uche. Jalix Hunt, you're projecting him forward. What is that role going to look like for him in his second year? It might be still a little bit green there. That would be a role. Or if there was a, serviceable, like this guy could be an every down starter. You don't like what you saw from some of those veteran signings from free agency, but there's a guy that might shake loose on the pro market. Maybe you try and get ahead of it and trade for that guy in the summer in training camp. That would be the position I would look at.
Yeah, I definitely think edge rusher is the spot where I would watch. And we'll see how Ojulari looks. We'll see how Josh Uche looks. But yeah, I am definitely paying attention to edge rusher there. Let's knock out the next one here, which is mailbag. This is from the real Jimmy G, Dirt of the Earth. Mailbag question: what was the deal with the penalties on the Eagles field goal team in the Super Bowl? I don't remember much of an explanation from the announcing crew. Did this have something to do with why they cut the long snapper, Demi Lovato? So Jimmy G, they dominated the Super Bowl, man. That should have been like one of the best nights of Eagles fans' lives. I wouldn't worry about the penalties on the field goal team, but I'll pass the mic over to you, Fran.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't have much recollection of this. I had to kind of like look back into it. I don't think that was the reason why they moved on from Rick Lovato. But I think that, it was like some kind of in terms of like the process, in terms of like movement from the snapper before the snap is my understanding of it. But I could be wrong there. Yeah. I had to dig deep into that one.
And your thoughts on the long snapper change?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I don't think it moves the needle for me. It was surprising. I think what's the name of our game where we project who's leaving?
I think Flu World Order.
Yeah, Flu World Order. Yeah, like I had Rick Lovato pretty high up on my list in terms of staying. So it did surprise me that they would change that operation. But as we've seen, and that's kind of going back to the TJ Watt of it all, and like the big names. That's why like Jalen Ramsey never really made sense either. Is that the Eagles have found lots of ways this offseason you're trying to save money where you can. I don't know that Rick Lovato was purely like money saving kind of a thing, but I do think that probably played a little bit of a factor there in that move.
Yeah, the Eagles are looking for any edge they can find, and that's probably long snapper as well. So I don't want to be disingenuous with the audience. I don't know how to evaluate long snappers. I can see if a snap is good or bad, but clearly the Eagles do, and clearly they felt there needed to be a change there. Right back on the NFL draft circuit for this next one from Dragon Bender, or is it Dragon Bender? Any thoughts on an abolish the draft scenario for the NFL? Each team gets 7 tradable signing slots, no set salaries, so the biggest markets can just sign the best players every year, i.e. Browns can offer Arch $30 million a year, Rams can offer $12 million a year, not $12 a year. It gives both kids and teams more control in the process. So I should preface this by saying even this scenario would not it would not affect the draft analyst role because you're still evaluating the prospect. It would affect the mock drafts that you do, right? So maybe it'll free you up from mock draft responsibility. But what is your perspective on the abolish the draft scenario?
Yeah, this is not the first time this has come up in the offseason. I know it was brought up on our Discord, Become a Diehard, so you can get access over on our Discord page and join in our community there. And I'm gonna be honest, like I hate it. No offense, obviously, to Dragon Bender, but to me, like one of the best things about the NFL and one of the things that makes the NFL king is the parity and the ability for everyone to be on that equal playing field. And the draft has a lot to do with that. Free agency, salary cap, all of that has a lot to do with it. And so to me, like there's no reason to change what the NFL draft has become. It's the biggest event of all off season, like bigger than the NBA finals is like the NFL draft, bigger than baseball playoffs, NFL draft. So I think when you're looking at, changing that to me, like there'd be no reason to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of thoughts on this, right? I understand what you're saying. Now, just to imagine, like intellectually here, if the best student from University of Penn, a medical school, right? And if they have to go to the worst performing hospital next year, like, and on a fixed salary, right? I mean, there's something to be said about that. I like freedom of movement for the players. I think that the draft makes sense for competitive purposes for the league. I have wondered, what if there was just the flat salary cap, right? And all these players became free agents, similar to like international soccer. So if a team did want to pay Arch Manning, they could pay Arch Manning like the top quarterback in the league if they wanted to. If the Saints say we want Arch Manning to be our quarterback, he's a free agent, right? He enters the NFL, he's a free agent. But a team can't just spend everything on him. He's just viewed the same way as any other free agent is. So I have thought about what that would look like. But there would probably be salary surprise. There's salary complications. It's certainly for the competitive purposes of the league. I'm not big on the abolish the draft scenario. I am big on the draft lottery, and I would like to see some way to not just have the worst team get the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, to me, like, by the time we get to week 18, that's where we start having those difficult conversations. It's so rare that we get to like week 16, which, we're basically on the doorstep of the playoffs, and we're talking about a team potentially tanking. There's more examples of it going the other way, where teams like ruin their draft spot because of late wins or, late in the season. See the Giants last year, each of the last 2 years, honestly, 4 examples of that. So yeah, like I would not tinker with this process. I think leave it as is.
Make sure you stick around after this break to find out what Nakobe Dean's long-term future will be with the Eagles. Let me tell everyone about Bet365. Look, you're watching the show now. I appreciate it. If you were watching the Detroit Tigers Washington Nationals game and you wanted to put some money on the game, the place where to do it would be Bet365, because Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You're watching the Phillies this weekend. You're watching the Club World Cup, and the place to make your bets is Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place $5 to get that $150 in bonus bets. Again, win or lose. Breaking news from Bet365. Like I said, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spreads, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, must be 21 and older and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, Fran, here's an impression of me from yesterday.
Okay.
That's me walking into my house, sweating like a pig because it is feeling like a sauna in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know how it is this time of year. This Philly heat, it's no joke.
So, what do I do? Do I go jump in a lake? It's not going to happen. So, I just got a bunch of ice, held it, rubbed it on my face, stuffed it down my shirt, stuffed it down my pants. Only way I could think to cool down.
I mean, stop being the stereotypical dad, though. Turn on the AC. It's time to fire that thing up.
I don't want to I want to waste money, be energy efficient.
Well, look, instead of icing yourself out or jumping into a lake, you could just check out Pico's energy-saving rebates. They've got deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut down on your bills.
So, no more ice down my pants?
No, you could skip the ice, save the ice, and you throw in my drinks when I come over.
The same ice?
No, we'll change the ice up.
Okay, fine. That's what's up.
All right, well, just head over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it.
Fran, I need to ask you. What was it like filming that advertisement?
It was a lot of fun. It took a little bit longer than you would have expected. We did a couple takes. It was fun. Honestly, it brought a smile on my face when I saw that was on the docket here for this episode.
Yeah, it's. I think it's been fun for the viewers, for us, to just see Bo come down from Maine to talk about Pico, or I shouldn't say where he is. My bad. A live show for Bo to come from wherever he is around the world and talk about Pico, and then head back to be with his family. Let's get to one super chat here. My man, Rich Bobby. Rich, I so appreciate you, man. Yeoman work, filling in for the best host in the city this week. Zach, thank you. I can agree with one part of that, and that's that Bo is the best host in the city. And I think that sometimes you don't know what you got till it's gone. When Bo's not on the show, I think you realize just how fun of a host he is, because the hijinks don't ensue as much when I'm in the seat. And that's why we're going to get right on to the next question on this list, which is, what's the scenario? This is from SJ Gov at Blue Sky. What's the scenario for Nakobe Dean to have a long-term future with the Eagles apart from fully recovering from the injury?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big one would be if Jahad Campbell moves to outside linebacker, he becomes a rusher, and then that obviously creates a hole there in the middle of the defense next to Zach Bond. I think that's probably the most plausible thing. I think otherwise, you are bringing Nakobe Dean back on some kind of a backup deal. Is he willing to do that? Does he want to do that? Would he rather try and go somewhere else and play as a starter? My guess is yes. So yeah, it definitely, when you select Jahad Campbell in the first round and trade up for him and try numerous times to trade up for him, you are basically saying we want to make this guy a centerpiece of our defense. And if he is going to remain as a middle linebacker after you paid Zach Bond, musical chairs, Nakobe Dean is kind of left on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's tough because Nakobe's, a heartbeat of the team type player. important in that defensive room. I think the plausible scenario would be if Jahad Campbell's an edge rusher, right? If Jahad Campbell comes in this year and they're like, this guy's Micah Parsons, and he should be, instead of rushing the quarterback part-time, rushing the quarterback full-time. And then you are looking at how do you maximize the off-ball linebacker spot. If Jahad Campbell's an off-ball linebacker, I don't see what Nakobe Dean's future is in Philly, because like Zach Bond's going to be here for at least the next 2 years, right? And so in that scenario, does Nakobe Dean re-sign to be your third linebacker, to be your backup? I don't think that's good for Nakobe's career. So, I really think the path for Nakobe will be Jahad Campbell becoming an edge rusher. Staying on the Blue Sky questions, we appreciate it. This is from Andy in Pakistan. Recently, I wrote to a friend. To me, Zach Berman and Fran Duffy are two local sports reporters who combine hard work, high character, and caring about people. You clearly do your homework for player interviews. Question: what Eagle that you never got to interview do you wish you could have?
Love this.
First off, I appreciate that sentiment quite a bit, Andy. Thank you.
I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this one. I'm sure you've put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, for me, I would say Terrell Owens.
Go on.
Terrell Owens or Reggie White, but probably T.O., just because T.O. seemed like such a magnetic personality, such a fascinating player to cover, such a time of the year to cover it. Such like a fascinating time to cover him, right? Like that's, I always say as a reporter, I want to be where the big story is. And the big story during T.O.'s time here was when he was there. So T.O. was the player who came to mind when this came up.
Yeah, T.O.'s a good one. The one that first popped into my head, and obviously we're going back a ways here, but to hear from a player that played in this era that I'm talking about, and especially the role that he played, Chuck Bednarik, would be very fun. And obviously it passed a few years back, but I think when you're looking at Chuck Bednarik playing both ways, we've all seen, if you're an Eagles fan, like I'm sure you've seen the NFL Films clips, the interviews. I mean, the passion that not only he played with, but like well after he retired, the passion that he spoke about with the game and reliving those memories. I mean, some of those clips are like etched into my memory of his playing days here in Philadelphia. I think that'd be a really, really fun one.
Who's been your favorite player to interview? Favorite player to interview?
That's a good question. I mean, honestly, I've had some really great conversations with players in the past. Brandon Brooks comes to mind. I know that's your favorite episode of the show that you guys have ever done. But Brandon Brooks comes to mind. I really, really enjoyed. I did a segment with James Bradbury during the Super Bowl run in 2022, and I found James to be awesome. I know you guys have talked about how much you enjoyed talking with James, but there have been so many guys where I'm like, this was just a really fun, anytime I've talked with Lane, on camera or, on the microphone, it's been great. So Chris Long was outstanding. Obviously, we know why he's had so much success in his post NFL playing career. So I think when you're looking at a lot of those guys, the Eagles have been lucky. They brought a lot of players in that kind of fit that ilk.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I enjoy appreciate anyone who gives me their time, but as I've stated before, maybe too diplomatically, but Malcolm Jenkins, there's no one I respect more. And I thought Malcolm made me a better reporter because I had to step up my game. And then I so appreciate Brandon Graham as well. Brandon Graham was someone who was always available, was honest. And I appreciate optimism too. Like, he had good days, and I like being around people like that.
I tried finding, there was an interview. It was a podcast that me, Bo, and C-Mac, Chris McPherson, did with Malcolm Jenkins. I mean, I want to say it was like 2015, maybe 2014. And it was obviously we talked a little about football, but we talked about Malcolm and his affinity for like the zombie apocalypse and zombie preparedness. And that was one of my favorite podcast discussions we ever had with a player when I was with the Eagles. Couldn't find it. It's not like nowhere to be found on YouTube right now, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I'll reserve comment about that. And by the way, I need to say Eagles Entertainment does an outstanding job because I have a book coming out in September, and I can't tell you how many like scenes in that book are from behind the scenes footage that Eagles Entertainment's provided, and on field clips. So I'm simply saying that as Fran's friend, like, the more work I can find from Fran, the better. But Eagles Entertainment does an outstanding job. So
No
we're
question.
kind of veering into some of the non-football, and we have some football ones mixed in, including one that Bo might have submitted from AI, not Allen Iverson. But here's a non-football one. This is fun. ZB and Fran, best international city overall and best food city and place. This is from Philadelphia.
So I am partial to anytime we go anywhere that's on the water, fresh seafood, like fresh fish, fresh shellfish, like anything, like I am all in. So whether that means like if I am on the Gulf and it's like we're getting fresh seafood, then I'm talking obviously we're talking like Mobile and like New Orleans, stuff like that. Or if we're going to like an island and Megan, my wife and I have been to St. Lucia multiple times. Like, and that would be my answer in terms of like my favorite place to leave like outside the country would be St. Lucia. But like anytime it can be like fresh seafood for like fresh fruit, like all that, anything that's like fresh in that way, like I'm game. I'm in.
Yeah. So look, I'm biased. I love Montreal. That's where my mom is from. That's where my grandmother lives right now, and it's also a great food city. My favorite international city that I've ever been to, I've been to Hong Kong, and I loved Hong Kong. I thought it was just culturally rich, terrific food, beautiful scenery, and I like technology, and it was very modern and walkable. So I would put Hong Kong as like the coolest city that I've been to. So I'm not as well traveled in Europe as if Bo were on. Bo would, I've never been to Paris, for instance. I was there were 2 times during the past year when I was hoping to go, or the past 2 years when I was hoping to go, and we had to cancel the trip both times. And then I've never been to Amsterdam. I hear great things about Amsterdam. And so there's I was in London for the Eagles Jaguars game, but I haven't spent like extensive time there. This is a roundabout way of saying there are a lot of places that I would like to go, but I'm going with Montreal as my favorite food international city, and I'm going with Hong Kong as my favorite international city.
What is your favorite when you travel to Montreal? What is your favorite food to take in?
My grandmom's cooking. I got to say that my grandma's but in addition to that, there's so many great restaurants there. There's a great restaurant there that I used to go to for all like special events with my family, and it's called Gibby's, and it is so good. And when you got to put yourself in the mind of like a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, whatever it is, and so they have the Gibby salad, but then after the salad they have a palate cleanser, and it's like a sorbet, like a lemon sorbet, and as like a 6-year-old or not 6, maybe 8 or 9, it's like getting water ice in the middle of a meal, right? So I always look forward to that. But the food there is outstanding. So yeah, I there's a place I really want to go called Joe Beef. It's hard to get a reservation. I would really like to go there, but I would need to say that my grandmother's cooking is my favorite food in Montreal.
I like it. Respectable answer there.
Yeah. So this next question is quite long, and I'm going to defer this to you here.
Okay.
Should I read it, or do you want me to read it?
You can read it.
Okay. So great job, Andrew, putting that all on the screen. For the audio listeners, I'm going to take you through. This is from J990. My son plays baseball via our local little league. The coach he ended up with about 3 seasons ago has been making it a priority to try to keep the same team together. Before the most recent season, he even mentioned he had to make a deal when picking the team to keep the group together. I have no problem with the coach or the group of kids he plays with. I just feel part of the experience in youth sports should be playing with different kids and having different coaches. I feel like keeping the same group is more of a travel baseball thing, not a little league thing. One of my son's best friends plays in the same league, but not on the same team, and seemingly never would if this coach continues to make the same group his priority. I'm not sure how to approach the idea of telling the coach he likes playing with you and the group, but please don't force it. Ultimately, the thing I don't want to happen is there to be some point when he gets separated from that group, and now he doesn't know how to deal with it or wants to keep playing. Should I try sending a message about it? Thanks for all the great work. Shout out, SZA.
Great job reading that all, taking that all in. Great job, Andrew, getting that all in the one graphic. I did. So that was on our Discord, and I followed up just to see, like, all right, how old are we talking? His son is 8. So you're talking like 8. So we're talking like youth sports here. This isn't like teenagers, things like. For me, this is crazy. I think one of the best parts about youth sports is, like, kind of building, allowing kids to build these relationships with, people in their area, and trying to kind of become part of a team, like with each new passing season, right? Like, we're going through this now with Francis, where he just had his first full like year, like cycle, where it's like, all right, like you're going to do, you have summer camp, and you have soccer in the fall, and you have basketball in the winter, you have baseball in the spring, you're doing, doing all these different things. He does karate like throughout, right? So he has all these different things, and there's overlap where it's like, hey, like I know this kid from this, and I know this kid from that, and we were on the same team here, but then we play against each other there, and then, oh, I hope he's on my team next year, but if not, like I'm going to make new friends. That's awesome. Like, that's what it's all about. Now this, like, I grew up playing everything like year round, right? So we played all sport. So I have, my younger brother, who's 2 years younger, and I have a younger sister who's 2 years younger than that. So we were all very close. My dad coached like all three of us in terms of like teams and things like that. So we were always going from like one event to the other. And my brother, the middle, who's again 2 years younger, he had a group of kids that it was like the same coach and my dad, and like a very like same group of kids, and it was travel league. Like, so to me, when you get to like travel age, I think that's where it becomes acceptable. I think if you're talking like local and like town league, like we called it like town league when we were growing up. To me, if it's town league, like absolutely not. Like this is to me is out of bounds. Like those kids should be playing with as many different kids as possible. I don't know if you feel any different about this.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I do feel similar to what you said. Now, I'm guilty of this. My son has been on a flag football team for, so when I say seasons, there's like 5 flag football seasons in a year, right?
Yep.
And so the past 3 seasons, he's entering the 3rd season with the same group, like same coaches, same players. They kind of request each other. So yeah, I do agree that, like, being a part of different teams is a good thing. In this case of the flag football team, there's a lot of kids from different schools. So it's like a chance for them to get together, yep. Right? And they enjoy playing with each other. But I don't think there's anything wrong in this case with saying, look, he loves playing for you, he loves playing with these guys, but I really want him to experience, or like to meet different people, or to play for different coaches, and I don't think the parent should be offended by that. So I can see it from both ways. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to be hypocritical, because my son's on the same flag football team, and actually his baseball team was a lot of the same kids, some different ones, 2 years in a row. But I generally agree that, like, part of the joy is meeting different people, making new friends, adapting to different teammates, adapting to different coaches as well. So I want to say this: we have a fun question coming up that was brought to us by artificial intelligence, and so presumably so. That's how it was. That's how it was framed. You're not going to want to miss this 3-part question. Stick with us after the break. I want to let everyone know about our friends at Parx Casino, because whether your favorite team wins or not, there is always another way to win on the Parx Casino on the Bet Parx online. I'm sorry, the Bet Parx Casino app. Make sure you have the Bet Parx Casino app. Check out brand new casino games like Huff and More Puff and Fire Blaze Sky Queen, a Bet Parks exclusive. It's the only app to use to play all your favorite casino games in the palm of your hand. Play blackjack. That's my game of choice. Roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and hot online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, and Cleopatra online slots. Play hot online slots based on your favorite streaming shows, Walking Dead, Squid Game, Breaking Bad, and Peaky Blinders, and all your favorite classic casino games. And I should say the Peaky Blinders and all your favorite, all those games from wherever you are. New users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparks.com and download the app right now and enjoy all the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for the Bet Parks app. You'll love to play. You play to win. You bet. Bet Parks. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We'll now hear from our friends over at Mando, because Mando is a men's deodorant that is hyper-focused on keeping every single aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. And when I say every aspect, I mean every aspect. All right, we're in the heat of summer. We got heat waves left and right here in the Northeast, and it's been bad. It's been rough. I just got back from Florida, and it was rough down there as well. We've got trips going back down to Florida in a couple weeks, and I'm already prepared because look, you've got scents that are geared towards men with options like bourbon leather, Clover Woods, Mount Fuji, Pro Sport, a lot of different options there. And again, when I say every aspect of a men's body, keeping it fresh and clean, we're not just talking about armpits. We're talking your balls, your thigh folds, your belly button, your butt crack, your feet, all different areas that are going to secrete those odors. Look, we're talking Mando. That's created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. And it does it better than just a shower or just regular soap. You've got the solid deodorant stick. So if you want to go that route, or if you want to go with the spray deodorant, aluminum free, it's ideal for those hard to reach places. You know that you can do that as well. All of Mando's products are baking soda free and paraben free, and you can choose from all those different scents that I mentioned earlier. If you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant formula right now, you can find them in Walmart, Target, any other retailer across the country. But obviously, for the best deals, you go to shopmando.com. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with that solid stick deodorant that I mentioned. You've got the cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice. So you've got the mini body wash, you've got the deodorant wipes, and free shipping. You can't discount the free shipping as well. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. All you have to do is use the code PHLY at shopmando.com. That's SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando.
So I said yesterday that priority questions go to the Discord, right? If you're a diehard, we appreciate your business. You're in the Discord. It's a great community of fans of all the sports, of the PHLY subscribers. And Threat Level Midnight went to the Discord and took a screenshot of ChatGPT, and said, Zach Berman, the co-host of the PHLY Eagles show, asked for mailbag questions so he and NFL draft / Eagles expert Fran Duffy have something to talk about on today's show. Please give me 3 questions, including one about how to make a turkey melt. And so ChatGPT came across with 3 questions. One was an Eagles roster question, one was an NFL draft focus question, one was a turkey melt debate, which is labeled as essential content. Presumably, this came from them. Arguably. First one, Eagles roster question. With training camp approaching, which second-year players most likely to make a significant leap? And could you see someone like Sidney Brown, once healthy, pushing for starting job in the secondary? Fran, what say you? And Andrew, we'll flash this back up for the next question.
Yeah. As far as second-year players, I mean, to me, my mind goes to Jalix Hunt. We mentioned earlier, like that would be the position that you're looking at in terms of a potential veteran ad. You don't need to do that if Jalix Hunt shows up this summer and looks like he's ready for that role. That might be a little bit of a big jump. Former late 3rd round pick. Obviously, we know the backstory by now. Former safety in the Ivy League who moved late in his college career off the edge. Is he going to be ready to make that kind of leap in year 2? If he is, then that means a lot for this Eagles defense. If he's not, then that's going to be certainly a question mark as we get into the regular season.
I would agree. J.Alex Hunt's the player who I think can take the second-year leap. And then I think Sidney Brown could push for a starting job. I would give Makuba the leg up in that battle. Number 2, NFL draft focus. Fran, when evaluating college receivers for the Eagles' future, which specific traits do you think best fit Nick Sirianni's system, especially with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith already established? That's a very specific question from AI.
Yeah, from AI. So to me, I think there's two things. Number one, I think this is universal for like any player, not just receiver, but I think that there is a certain mentality that we've seen from the majority of Eagles draft choices since Nick Sirianni's been hired. They are looking for that, that quote unquote, and you can mock it, but it is so true for the players that they target in the draft and in free agency. You're looking for that dog mentality. You're looking for guys that bring that edge, and those are the kinds of players that they have targeted. And now the other aspect of it is the Howie Roseman and the philosophical standpoint from the personnel department, where you want guys that have unique traits. So if you have players that have unique traits and attack the game with a certain edge, all right, now you're checking boxes there. What makes it fun, and that's one of the reasons why I love watching the receivers up close whenever I'm at Eagles practice under Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni he spends a lot of time over there with the receivers. Kevin Patullo has spent a lot of time over there with the receivers, working with Aaron Moorhead. Both guys have wide receiver backgrounds. We know that Nick Sirianni's played that position. He is very detail-oriented when it comes to that position. So watching him watch those guys, you can kind of see when he, after you see Johnny Wilson go through a rep and he takes Johnny Wilson aside, and so he is very detail oriented. So the guys that that have that attention to detail in college, and you mesh that with unique traits and or that dog mentality, that's the combination I think you're looking at.
And so let's go with then the next one here. Turkey melt debate, essential content. Zach, serious question. What's the ideal way to make a turkey melt? Griddle or oven? Rye or sourdough? What's your go-to cheese? And do you dare throw in a slice of tomato to keep it pure? Let me know if you want them to be funnier or more analytical. So I presume this came from ChatGPT.
They did, yes.
Okay, so the ideal way to make a turkey melt is, for me, with the George Foreman grill, the type of bread. Look, beggars can't be choosers. I've said on the show before, I don't typically do the food shopping in my house. I'll just, that's not like a gender role thing. It's just Emily likes to do the food shopping in the house. And so she usually gets healthy bread. It's like, it's got like grains and stuff like that. I mean, if I had my druthers, I would give me a slab of sourdough, but I don't have my druthers. What's your go-to cheese? And do you dare throw in a slice of tomato to keep it pure? I like any sharp type of cheese. So a sharp cheddar is what I would like to go with. I'll take a sharp provolone if I can, but the sharper the cheese, the better for me. And I would love to throw a slice of tomato on it. And I appreciate the question. It's amazing the technological advances these days.
You got a condiment of choice on a turkey melt?
On a turkey melt, honey mustard.
You're going to throw honey mustard on there.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. Honey mustard with the sharp cheese.
Yeah. Typically, it's like, it's a collection of flavors. It's eclectic, right? I like my food the way I like my people, all different types. Right. So,
Obviously we all know that the George Foreman does most of the work here anyway.
It does, but you got to make sure you have bread on top. All right. So the next question here. I'm very interested in knowing more about Zach's relationship with music. 3 concerts ever, 2 or Billy Joel, 1 or both for work, if I'm not mistaken. Does Zach listen to music when he's working out? Does Zach listen to music when he's working? Who are Zach's favorite artists? What are Zach's favorite songs? What radio stations did he listen to growing up besides 610? You ask for mailbags, you get the pizza customers sending in mailbags. Also from Threat Level Mailbag, from Threat Level Midnight. My relationship with music is it's a platonic one, right? I mean, I like music. I don't love it. I'm not by no means a music expert. You are correct about I had a friend who listens to the show, Sean. This is Sean C, not Sean G. when I was much younger, brought me to a U2 concert at the well, now it's going to be called the Xfinity Mobile Arena, and I didn't know much about U2. And then in college, I went to a Billy Joel concert to write about for a class or for the school newspaper. And then
how'd you do on that? How'd you do on that piece? How'd that piece turn out?
I did well.
Okay.
I did well. Although I think that the person who I interviewed might have not given me the proper, his correct name. I think he might have given a pseudonym. We'll get to that another time. And then I went to when I was dating my wife, her parents and my in-laws now took us to a Billy Joel concert at Citizens Bank Park. I'm not like a huge Billy Joel fan, but I'm a huge fan of my wife, and who was then my girlfriend, and so I had a wonderful time. Does Zach listen to music when he's working? Or no, does Zach listen to music when he's working out? I work out at F45, as I've said in the past, and so whatever music they play. When I'm taking walks in the morning, I listen to podcasts.
Yep.
Does Zach listen to music when he's working? Sometimes I'll have like soft jazz on if I'm in like a coffee shop or something like that, but typically not. Who are Zach's favorite artists? Mount Joy, without a doubt. I'm a big Mount Joy fan.
Yep.
And I appreciate Matt. I sent him a message the other day. I know he's overseas right now. Yeah, definitely that. What are Zach's favorite songs? There's a lot of songs that I appreciate. I tend to listen to songs more for the lyrics than anything else. A song that I listened to recently, well, I listened to it a number of times that I enjoy, is actually Jason Kelsey's favorite song, and that's "The Cape" by Guy Clark. And I believe it's Guy Clark, and it's a song that I use as a lesson to my children about taking leaps of faith in life, right? Spread your arms and hold your breath, and always trust your cape. And so my kids, when they're in the car, they'll say, put on the Jason Kelsey song. So I've been listening to a lot of that. What radio station did he listen to growing up besides 610? I listened to 610 growing up, honestly. That was it. I mean, this was pre-podcasts, and this was pre, 97.5 The Fanatic at that time. So I loved sports talk radio. I loved listening to Anthony Gargano whenever I could at that time, and not to age Anthony, but I used to listen to him then. I listened to the morning show on the way to work. And I would fall asleep listening to 610. I didn't listen to music on the radio. Threat Level Midnight, I appreciate that question.
All right. So I have a number of follow-ups here.
Yes.
The smooth jazz aspect of this. Do you have a go-to artist? Is it a AI generated playlist where you just go on to Spotify or Apple Music and you're like, I find soft jazz playlist? Why soft jazz?
Yeah, I actually typed in writing music one day, and because I was in a coffee shop where it was like a little loud, and I was trying to focus, and I typed in writing music, and it was like a soft jazz playlist, and I found it to be effective. And so honestly, I just go back to that. I don't know much about jazz, but I found that when I'm out in public sometimes to be better. When I'm writing at home, I typically have sports on in the background. So I don't typically have music on at home.
I've said this before on the show, but I think there was like research done, studies done, where it's like your brain is like firing at max capacity if you're listening to music that does not have lyrics to it. And so the smooth jazz, it would make sense that's why the smooth jazz turned up on that search for you. I've got a playlist on Spotify that I use that is just all movie soundtracks, and it's like so I churn through that when I'm watching film or if I'm writing. That's the go-to there.
I feel like as a film guy, though, you should be listening to like Metallica. Like, whenever I see Gruden watching like grinding film, he's listening to like heavy metal, hard rock. That's what
all respect to him. I don't know that he and I are of the same mindset for a lot of things. I don't know that I'm trying to encapsulate that exact vibe as I'm going through my day-to-day life. That was a fun conversation there. The next one, a very broad question. This is from Jamie. Just take off the E. Is there a place you've never been or experienced, or an experience you've never had that you really want to before you physically can't? First. Yeah, I mean, I've been we we try and take trips every year, and so we have a lot of places that are like on our list of like, all right, we definitely want to go here, we definitely want to go there. And now that Francis is getting older, and there's a lot where like, all right, we want to save this for when he's a little bit older and he can enjoy this, or it'll be just a more enjoyable experience for everybody once he's a little bit older. So like certainly like going to Italy, I've never been, that would be great. But there are a lot of places here just domestically. Like I would love to I want to do like a trek through the Pacific Northwest and like kind of do like that kind of trip. My sister is actually in the middle of one of those right now, like the Alaska cruise. They did Seattle, Vancouver, like that whole area. So that would be another one for me that's on the short list.
I like those answers. For me, an experience is a World Cup game. Now it's coming to Philly next year, so I'm looking forward to that. But I mean, if I can do one internationally, that would be awesome. And then a place that I've never been. I've never been to Africa, and I would really love to go on a safari. So yeah, that would be high up on my list.
You have to pick Bo's brain on that one.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Would you ever go shark diving?
Would I go shark diving?
Yeah. Say in a cage, like in a cage, like the shark cage.
I don't have much interest in the diving component of it. It'd be cool to see sharks, but yeah, I mean, scuba diving does not excite me too much. I get worried about like scuba injuries, and so yeah, I'm not good.
Scuba injuries like from a
or like not being like I've tried scuba diving sometimes, and I have a hard time like keeping my breath normal, like I'm breathing normal during that. I guess I get a little worked up. And when I try snorkeling, I always get the water in the snorkel.
That's probably honestly also related to the breathing, because you got to be be calm and measured there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm not a low pulse diver. That's for sure. So that's. But yeah, the safari, I'm definitely interested in.
Okay, like that.
Here you go. So this is from Philly Dan. In media last season, we never heard that the team took Vic's last season we heard that the team took Vic Fangio's feedback about conditioning and being a pro, and clearly it paid off. Any intel or word on how that is coming for the defense young group? A couple of them been to 2 Super Bowls. I mean, if you listen to the Exciting Mics, they talked about the benefit of having that defense 2 years in a row. So absolutely, that's something that you're hearing. I would imagine that's kind of a staple of what they're doing right now.
Yeah, I think that certainly to the last point of that, you're trying to build momentum there and kind of reset the culture, because you think about all the players that have left that locker room in the last couple of years. You lose Brandon Graham, you lose Fletcher Cox, you lose Jason Kelsey, you lose some of the leaders that they have lost over these last couple of off seasons. You want to try and continue to build that culture, and you're hoping that the wisdom that those players, were able to transition over to some of the young players. Now you need to keep that ball rolling. And so whether that's coming from the coaching staff or, just making sure that those guys were coachable in those moments in the last couple of years, that's certainly going to be big for the franchise moving forward.
From Frank McKay, what would it take for you to join Julia at a mini burn festival?
This was pointed directly at you.
Pointed directly at me. Okay. Look, I love hanging out with Julia. I've known Julia for, let's see, I'm 29 years. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm 39 years old. So I've known Julia since I was 10 years old. So I've known Julia for 29 years now. Always enjoy hanging out with Julia. I think she would tell you that I am not the person that she would want to hang out with at a mini burn festival. I would be out of place at a mini burn festival. What would it take for me to go? There will be 2 conditions. Well, I guess there are a few conditions, but first off, number 1, if my wife wanted to go, Emily, when she asks us to do something, I tend to do it. Right. She handles the social plans, and, in return, I get to work. And so the second part of that is if there was a story that took me there, right? I mean, if Jason Kelsey was at a mini burn festival and I can hang out with him there, I bet Connor Barwin enjoys festivals, right? And so, so if I was doing a story that took me there, I would do a mini burn festival. But we honestly don't know what. I mean, I heard Julia talk about it. I'm very into like being sanitary, and clean bathrooms is like a big deal for me. You've heard I don't like public bathrooms, and so the idea of no bathrooms at all would worry me quite a bit. So
Look, you bring that Mando starter pack with you. You're all set.
that's great. That's great. That's a great point. I want to hear Fran's answer in overtime. Fran, would you have interest in that?
In a different life, maybe. Okay. I don't know that Fran in 2025 is making that trip, but no, it sounded like it was fun. I'm sure it was a blast.
So this last one here from Dave Hughes, and by the way, we miss Joey. Looking forward to her coming back. Yes. Though Andrew's doing a great job today as well. From Dave Hughes, this was also addressed to me. Zach, can you address the West Wing mistake from a few weeks ago when discussing the name Finn? You said there was a baby with the name in the West Wing. That is incorrect. The baby's name was Huck. While wrong, the confusion is understandable. Dave, I sit corrected. My fault. Wow. The baby was Huck. I conflated Huck and Finn. I'm probably not the first person to ever conflate Huck and Finn. But yeah, I apologize to Aaron Sorkin. I apologize to Richard Schiff, who's the Toby Ziegler role in that. To his wife in the show, Andy, or not his wife, his ex-wife, the one he had a baby with, Andy. I hope I got that name correct. And I apologize to all the West Wing aficionados out there. I imagine Dave is one of them, but I got that wrong. The baby was Huck and not Finn.
I think as a penance, I think you should have to say that I'm not the first person to conflate Huck and Finn 5 times fast.
I am not the first person to conflate Huck and Finn. I'm not the first person to conflate Huck and Finn. I'm not the first person to conflate Huck and Finn. I'm not the first person to conflate Huck and Finn. I'm not the first person to conflate Huck and Finn.
Oh, that well done. You dodged 5 landmines there.
Look, these questions were fun. I love Bo. I used the L word there, I guess. I love Bo. Sure but I hope Bo sees this and sees that mailbags can be fun, right? It's a way to mix in Eagles, mix in some non-Eagles questions. So this was a good time. And Fran and I will be back tomorrow for the final show of the week. And we're going to look at some sliding door scenarios. And that will kind of tease something coming up here on PHLY. So until then, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Fran. If Bo were here, he would say, as always, we love you. I will say we'll do better tomorrow. Thanks for watching.
We all silly like the mayor.